Occult Confessions is brought to you commercial-free through the generous support of our patrons. Visit occultconfessions.com and click on Donate to help keep the history of the occult on the digital airwaves. James Jesse Strang presents a parallel prophet's career to that of Joseph Smith. In some ways, a copycat of the Mormon prophet who literally attempted to succeed him despite their having had only a brief relationship, Strang also innovated on Mormon doctrine. Like Smith, he discovered a collection of ancient plates hidden in the earth and established a community of believers on the frontier that he moved to a still better frontier. But his revelations were significantly shorter and less involved than Smith's. If Strang was less successful in matters of the spirit, he was better than Smith at politics. Whereas Smith was always an outsider and his presidential run is generally regarded as a kind of self-delusion, James Jesse Strang actually won political office, serving in Michigan's nascent state legislature. More notoriously, both men preached and wrote against polygamy, but ended up practicing and even promoting it. And both men were assassinated by their rivals. Today on Occult Confessions, the apostate prophet, James Jesse Strang. My name is Dr. Rob C. Thompson, here with our final episode in on the subject of Mormonism. Also here with two voices you'll remember from earlier in the series. Bree Littoral, our metallurgic prophet.
Hello.
Ready for today's grifting?
I'm very excited.
Yeah. And Savannah Verrett, sister of the 84th degree.
Hello. Yeah, Rob accidentally gave us a sneak peek into this
I
man's
did,
life.
yeah.
And,
It's delightful.
yeah, I'm very excited to hear more about this.
Just some small personal details. Yeah, so we are. This is going to be a wild ride. The Mormons are a wild ride, but they're like a wild ride that takes hours to like actually fully get into all the wildness. James Strang, we can knock it out in an hour, and you can really. Like, this is right. This is not a trip around the world. This is a quick trip to a very weird town.
I'm delighted.
In Michigan.
Of course. Where else would it be?
Utah, maybe, but
Maybe,
yeah, Michigan.
yeah.
We, the members
Of
Of the secret order of alchemical actors, do solemnly commit ourselves to a full and honest telling of the history of the occult as far as we know it.
All right, let's get into this guy, shall we? Apostate prophet. All right, James Jesse Strang was born Jesse James Strang in 1813, the second child in Cayuga County, New York, of his parents. His parents moved twice, and they ended up settling in Hanover in Chautauqua County, New York. He was ill from infancy and largely ignored by his teachers and mocked by his fellow students in school, but he read voraciously. At 15, now see, here's the thing, you guys, see, I accidentally did this as the opening moments ago, and they were like, whoa, Rob, you're hitting us with a lot, but now here I am. All I did was the intro, and now I'm hitting you with it, and it's the same. Nothing's really changed.
Okay.
Yeah, you're just going to hear it all again.
You haven't gotten to the more exciting bits yet.
I'm about to. I'm about to.
Yeah.
Although I do think it's funny that you're like, he's sick and his teachers ignored him.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that was
like,
The sickly
delightful.
one probably
Yeah.
won't make it.
Everyone ignored
I'm
him.
not going to waste my efforts on
Nah, he doesn't need to know
sickly
math.
one.
He's going to heaven. There's no math in heaven. Everybody knows that.
No math
Thank
in
goodness.
heaven.
But speaking of heaven, at 15, he became involved with Nancy Crawford, a 20-year-old unwed mother. And his father separated them by sending him to the Fredonia Academy 10 miles away.
10 miles isn't that far, though, to separate your teenage boy from his weird
I guess that's
20-year-old
true.
girlfriend.
People used to walk 10 miles uphill in snow to
Right.
get to
Yeah.
school.
With
So,
only a potato to keep their hands warm, and the potato was room temperature.
Yes.
So he goes 10 miles away. While he's away, though, this does work because it's really Crawford. It's the woman who gets bored. She marries another man. So Strang gets tangled up in some way with a married woman. We're not sure how. Remember, Nancy wasn't married. She just had a child. She was an unwed mother.
right.
So now he's with a married woman. This is Mary Torrance, who kissed him in front of her husband, although Strang did not return her kisses.
Oh.
All right.
At 19, so yeah, he's an honorable man. At 19,
But he's a child.
he's an honorable child.
Yes.
She's not an honorable man.
No.
At
No.
19, he got a teaching job and plotted to marry Victoria, Queen of England, who was 13 at the time.
He really, reversed it this time.
Yeah, now he's
He just-
going for
yeah.
younger, yeah. But a powerful woman, nevertheless. He began reversing his name at this time, which had come from a popular minister. So Jesse James is actually the name of a popular minister. And that's probably where the very famous outlaw Jesse James got his name. However, there was also a murderer who was not the outlaw Jesse James, not a bank robber, just a murderer. And his name was Jesse Strang. And this man had been executed for killing a woman's husband at her request. He was really an assassin or a hitman. He's a Dateline episode, really. So Jesse Strang was executed for that, and so our Jesse Strang said, "Oh, I can't keep going by Jesse Strang. I'm going to be world famous." And this guy, killed a woman's husband for hire. So
and
I
wouldn't kiss a married woman.
Right? Not
No,
me.
not even, let alone kill one.
I would sex
I would let her
an
kiss
unwed
me,
mother.
but I
Yes,
wouldn't
yes.
kiss her back.
And sex an unwed mother of one, which I think is just charitable. Anyway. He's willing to take that responsibility, is what I'm trying to say. He reversed his names, though. So from now on, he is not Jesse James Strang. He's James Jesse Strang, which is how I introduced him. Yeah. He was born Jesse James Strang.
I do also have to say, just like when you said Jesse and James, it made me think of Pokemon. Too,
Yeah.
So
100%. I agree.
Yeah. But the American bank robber, Jesse James.
But
guys
no,
know that guy.
Pokemon was the first thing that came to my mind. So.
In fact, the bank robber Jesse James, folk hero, would not start his career until the 1860s, so he's long after
He can keep
Jesse
the
was
name.
born. He can keep it, yeah.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, the first guy, the assassin, he killed one person.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
It's going to fade into obscurity eventually.
Yeah, right. We forgot about this guy.
It's not going to hang around forever,
He didn't kill the president or anything.
No,
Just a
no.
regular guy. Strang studied the law, and he dreamed of being the master spirit, capital master, capital spirit, to unite the country when the slavery issue drove the United States to splinter into factions. So he said, I'm going to bring this country back together.
The master spirit?
He would be the master spirit.
Where did he come up with that term?
He's a man of many terms and many ideas. You will find out. He was expelled from the Christian church and repulsed by their anti-intellectualism. Thomas Paine and Shelley's Queen Mab directed him toward belief in the spirit of nature in place of a Christian deity. It's a very romantic kind of ideal. He engaged in land speculation and helped his brother to obtain a mill, for which he was sued and made enemies of the richest and most powerful in his local community of Forestville.
Oh, that's not good.
This doesn't sound real. This sounds like some weird, folk story from a movie that's happening right now. We're just this is the background of the character who does all these things.
Yeah, it'd be a good. Yeah, it's like a what's the guy that does the Fantastic Mr. Fox? That kind of movie.
Yeah. Why can't I think of his name? I love
Somebody's
him.
people-
Wes Anderson.
Wes Anderson.
Wes
yeah.
Anderson.
But he's a real dude. Wes Anderson needs to get on this movie. Maybe we
He
can
would
beat him
make
to
a
it.
Lovely movie. Yeah.
It gets dark, so maybe that's why Wes Anderson's going to stay away from it. He likes things to keep pretty sunny. Yeah. At the mill, he had an accident where he went over a dam and nearly drowned.
Whoa.
Yeah. In another brush with death, he caught smallpox and was nursed by Wealthy Smith, a woman he'd been in a relationship with for a year.
Is her title Wealthy
Wealthy,
Smith?
yes. I picture her with
name is
large
Wealthy?
bosoms.
Yeah, she has to have
She has
very
enormous bosoms.
large-chested woman.
Wealthy Smith cannot be a small woman.
You can't be wealthy if you have small boobs.
No,
I'm sorry.
She's a healthy mama.
She's a very healthy lady. Jesus Christ. We all need a wealthy in our lives.
Like her parents knew.
Yeah. They knew it was gonna happen. They looked at the mother and said, "We know what's gonna happen."
This is gonna be Wealthy Smith here. Strang's friend Benjamin Peirce had moved to the Wisconsin Territory with his brother-in-law Moses Smith, who, with brother
What a name.
Moses
then
and Wealthy.
Smith, and then he becomes a Mormon anyway.
I think they're related, Moses and Wealthy. Moses Smith, who with his brother Aaron had established the area near what would become Voree as a Mormon community. So Moses Smith and Aaron Smith creating, I guess they're not related to Wealthy because she has feelings about this. Anyway, they create this Mormon community after Joseph Smith. They're not related to Joseph Smith.
Why is everybody of the
A
last
lot of
name
Smiths.
Smith
Yeah.
in this story?
But they create this little Mormon community in Voree out in Wisconsin. Strang was tempted to move there, but did not. In October 1836, he was admitted to the Chautauqua County Bar, so now he's a lawyer. Or even more Wes Anderson-y, right? Like he's it's perfect, right? It's a perfect fit for this speculative dude. He married Benjamin's sister Mary, but they lived apart for the first months of their marriage as he got his affairs together. He was appointed postmaster in Ellington.
This is just a Wes Anderson film.
He's such an eclectic dude.
From this man to wealthy, it's just all the way through.
I think what I would say about the postmaster is his political ambitions start soon. He wants to be a civil servant.
Okay.
In 1843, he became editor and publisher of the Randolph Herald, but within the year he sold the paper and headed west to Wisconsin. Wisconsin calls. The Strangs moved in with Benjamin, and James joined a law partnership. They had a daughter, Mary, who died after the entire family had suffered an unnamed illness. Probably maybe some kind of pox or something. Now, to the meeting with Joseph Smith. Chapter 2. I didn't say Chapter 1, but Chapter 2.
That was a quick Chapter 1.
That was just introduction.
That was just the prologue.
Yeah,
This is Chapter 1.
This is
Chapter 1, Joseph Smith. Strang became interested in Mormonism in Wisconsin. Remember, we've got this little Mormon outpost. After making friends with ranking Mormons in the territory, he accompanied his local high Mormon priest, Aaron Smith, to Nauvoo, where he was baptized by Joseph Smith himself on the 25th of February and ordained an elder by Hiram Smith the following week on the 3rd of March. So both of the Smith brothers, who, tragically die, are involved in this man's conversion. The Smiths were seeking a new location for their Mormon settlers, who had worn out their welcome in Illinois, as you guys know, and Strang encouraged Joseph to consider the Wisconsin territory. It's not the state of Wisconsin, but it is. The state of Wisconsin is enclosed within the Wisconsin territory today. Smith asked him to submit a report, which Strang mailed from Wisconsin on the 24th of May. Now, I'm going to have to, the days are kind of important here. Normally, the days don't matter on the test, right? I don't ask you what the day is, but it kind of matters here. So it's May the 24th. On June the 19th, a letter arrived in Wisconsin for Strang from Joseph Smith. In the letter, Joseph Smith predicted his own martyrdom and appointed Strang to plant a stake of Zion in Wisconsin and call it Voree. If evil shall befall me, quoting the letter here, thou shalt lead the flock to pleasant pastures. Aaron Smith and Strang carried the letter around the Midwest for 4 weeks after Smith's death to show Smith's plans for Wisconsin and for James Strang. So all of this is happening in close proximity to the assassination of Joseph Smith. Immediately after Joseph Smith is assassinated, on the 27th of June, Strang's like, ooh, the Mormons could be mine now.
Oh.
I see.
So yeah, June 19th, the letter arrives. June 27th, Joseph Smith is dead. So the day Smith was killed, Strang said that an angel visited him in Berling, Wisconsin, anointed him with oil, and declared him the ruler of God's people, who would save his people from their enemies. Now, we should be suspicious already, because any fan of Joseph Smith knows that if an angel's going to anoint you with oil, they're going to go away, come back, and do it 3 times. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know about this one-time anointing, Strang. He was 31 years old and had been a Mormon for less than 5 months, and he's ready to take over.
Oh my God!
They're ambitious people.
Yes, Strang is extremely ambitious. I mean, I can't fault him that, right? Like Helena Blavatsky, and she's making paper flowers
Right.
as she's becoming who she is, and Crowley, all these guys, all our occult friends are extremely ambitious, self-promoting, and can even be, let's be honest, a little grifty sometimes. So Strang is really following in that, or he's almost leading up that mold. There is no evidence that he shared news of the angel before meeting the Latter-day Saints to stake his claim on the Mormons' presidency, so there's no way for us to prove this. 2 months later, on the 26th of August, Smith's 12 apostles excommunicated him for being a false prophet.
Checks out.
followed by another arguably stronger claimant to the throne, Sidney Rigdon, who, like Strang, would go on to start his own church. So Sidney Rigdon, Joseph Smith's number 2 dude for a long time, except for the moments when he was a little, loopy, is excommunicated at the same time as this random guy who came from Wisconsin and said, I have a letter.
I have a letter.
Maybe what I want to say about that is that elevates Strang.
Yeah.
He's being excommunicated next to Sidney Rigdon,
Right.
who was there from day one and watched the Book of Mormon get written.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Strang's family hoped he would rejoin the Baptist Church.
Wasn't he excommunicated from there?
Yes.
I was about to say, nobody wants him.
Expelled. Similarly, Wealthy Smith, Strang's former girlfriend, could not make sense of why Strang had joined the Mormons except out of some sense of personal ambition. Wealthy knows.
Ooh, wealthy.
Wealthy knows.
Wealthy does know.
On the 1st of September.
Maybe the Wes Anderson film can be about wealthy.
Yeah.
I think it has
she's-
to be. I think
she's the central
she's
character.
the central point.
Although you're going to meet so many more characters that you're going to want to make movies about. On the 1st of September 1845, Strang's angel gave him his own Urim and Tumim, much like Smith, to translate his own plates, which were buried under an oak tree by the White River.
Oh man, come on. You're stealing the same story, dude.
Exact same thing. Strang did not dig them up himself like Joseph Smith had, but he innovated on Joseph Smith. He found 3 witnesses to bring to the tree and affirm that no earth had been disturbed, and then together they dug until they uncovered a chest containing 3 hand-sized brass plates.
And he's letting people see the plates.
Right. I mean, there's a few things, right? Like your first guess, right, when he's like, I have golden plates too, they're over here, is like, well, yeah, this guy went out last night and just dug a hole and stuck some plates in it. So he wants to have these witnesses affirm that the ground is undisturbed. Mm-hmm. And then dig with him.
I bet he did this as soon as he was like, the man's dead. Let me dig a hole. Let me put some plates in there. Let
He
me do
already had
all of
plates.
this. Yeah, he already had plates.
You're so right. But it's also because didn't the angel make Joseph Smith like sit there with the dirt
Yes.
for
Yeah.
like ever before he was
It
allowed
was
to
years,
dig it up?
years before he could actually do it.
He's speed running.
Yes, he is. He's speed running Mormonism.
Same thing, but make it slightly different. Just a little bit different.
It takes you 80 hours to do Legend of Zelda. I'm doing it in 15 minutes.
I'm going straight to Ganon.
Going straight to the end. He's already at Ganon. He showed the plates to his followers and translated the tale of Raja Mancho Avorito. What I love about this story is that there are no more Strangites, or if there are, there's like 15 of them, so there's no one to correct my pronunciations.
Beautiful.
Strang's followers developed...
Strangites. I like that.
Strangites, yeah. They developed a publication to inform the Mormons at Nauvoo of Strang's claims, namely the Vori Herald. So now he has his own newspaper. The text was so short in his brass
Didn't
plates.
he sell his newspaper? Did he had a
Oh,
newspaper
he did.
before?
Yes, he was a newspaperman briefly,
Okay,
and a
and-
postman, and a
He was
lawyer.
so many
Oh,
things
so he
for
has another
so
one
quick.
now.
Well, yeah, this one is his followers have created a newspaper to publish his claims.
Okay.
I'm sure he's heavily involved.
Oh, I'm sure.
But here's the thing about his golden plates. They are so short that I am going to read them in their entirety right now.
You're kidding right now.
Nope.
Oh,
Nope.
no.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
My people are no more. The mighty are fallen, and the young slain in battle. Those of you listening at home, Bree already can't handle this.
It's so melodramatic.
It's worse than that, Bree. Their bones, bleached on the plain by the noonday shadow.
No.
The houses are leveled to the dust, and in the moat,
To the dust.
Not to dust, to the
the
dust.
dust, and in the moat are the walls.
There's a moat.
There's a moat. It's like mud. I think it rained. They shall be inhabited. I have in the burial served them, and their bones in the death shade. Towards the sun's... This man is going to be assassinated. Towards the sun's rising are covered. They sleep with the mighty dead, and they rest with their fathers. They have fallen in transgression and are not, but the elect and faithful there shall dwell. The word hath revealed it. God hath sworn to give an inheritance to his people where transgressors perished. The word of God came to me while I mourned in the death shade, saying, I will avenge me on the destroyer. He shall be driven out. Other strangers shall inhabit thy land. I, an ensign, there will set up. The escaped of my people there shall dwell, when the flock disown the shepherd and build not on the rock. Almost done.
Oh,
Okay.
It goes on like that for several pages. The forerunner men shall kill, but a mighty prophet there shall dwell. I will be his strength, and he shall bring forth thy record. Record my words, and bury it in the hill of promise.
very good, Rob. It sounded nice.
Thank you. I've been practicing that.
It's like he realized he was being too melodramatic and needed to make it kind of confusing halfway through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It got more to brass tacks.
Right.
Some of the words are nice, no? The death shade, like that sounds kind of cool.
Pretty nifty.
It's like in a YA novel or something.
Right, little Harry Potter action.
Yeah.
And it's like the greatest hits of like the Book of Mormon, right?
Right, yeah.
We're in the end times of, a biblical civilization is in its end times, and there's a prophet that's decreed, and the plates are going to be buried right here. These few passages, as I'm saying, capture the general circumstances of Smith's Moroni and echo the Book of Mormon's prediction of a future prophet, albeit Strang was far more vague about the prophet's identity. Now, these golden plates are not like...
That was one of my favorite parts of learning Joseph Smith's story, was how the book kept being like, Joseph Smith is the guy.
He's coming.
He is him.
He will
Could
be
not
here.
be more specific about who is coming and who will be.
If Strang had at the end of this just added, and his name's going to be Jesse James Strang, then it would have been the equivalent, but he did not.
Well, so maybe they weren't specific, the angels, because they were afraid that they'd think it was the murderer.
Oh, yeah.
They were like, we don't want you to get confused with that guy.
No, that's a
who
different
murdered
guy.
That guy's wife.
Oh,
no,
crap.
who
We
murdered
got to get
his
this
wife.
guy off Execution Row. He's the prophet.
Oh, gosh.
Strang was far more vague, as I'm saying. His brevity is certainly appreciated all the same. Like, good Lord, did I have to spend a day on the Book of Mormon plus. But this, we're already done. You guys have already experienced, in less than 5 minutes, the revelation.
And it was delightful.
Yeah, you guys clearly liked it. You were full of mirth.
So much mirth.
Reuben Miller, on a mission with 100 families to establish a Mormon community at Ottawa, arrived to debate Strang. Strang spoke for he's like, this is nonsense.
Good for him.
Yeah, so he comes from the Mormons, like the regular Mormons.
Oh, okay.
Right,
To
right.
debate Strang.
Okay.
Strang spoke for 4 hours. 4 hours. After which...
I'm sorry. I just love the idea of having to travel somewhere to debate someone. Because in our modern times, it's literally just like tweeting at somebody.
Yeah, you're just having a Twitter fight. Yeah,
but now like this dude had to travel miles to be like, F you.
Well, he's on his way to Ottawa. He's like stops off on the way to fight with him. But then when he tries to debate him, Strang just goes on for 4 hours. Which,
Oh, man.
Compare that to his revelation.
Yeah.
My
Right.
goodness. Remember, he's a lawyer.
Oh.
That makes sense.
And at the end of that 4 hours, Reuben Miller says, yeah, all right, you're operating within the church doctrine.
No!
Yes.
Shut up.
And Reuben Miller and 300 others join the Strangites.
No.
What?
Yes.
No.
Wow, he must be a good lawyer.
That or they were just so tired after 4 hours, they said, I don't even want to continue our trip. We're just stopping here. We're done. I can't do it.
I do think he was remarkably persuasive.
He has to be.
Yeah, he's really a clever speaker.
I mean, he had all these adult women
So
wanting to sleep with
funny.
him, so.
Wait, there's more. But wait, there's
Oh,
more.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Strang sent 4 elders to Nauvoo, led by Moses Smith, to convince the Mormons to travel to him rather than cross the plains to Utah. Wouldn't that have been a change? After a meeting...
So he's literally trying. He's like, I got these Mormons. Now go get
I'll go
the
get
rest
the others.
of them.
Yeah, yep, go get them for me.
That is crazy.
But Brigham Young sort of makes a mistake here. After a meeting at which Brigham Young's followers, the mainstream, that is to say, of the saints, spoke against Strang. So Strang's people are all like through Nauvoo, right, trying to spread the Strang message and convert people. So Brigham Young has this whole meeting.
Well, hang on. Actually, what's different though? What is Strang other than that Strang is the prophet?
That's all.
That's the only difference.
Big difference.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the revelation is profoundly short, right? There's no he's not like, and also we should only lick cows, not eat them. Like there's no weird things in there that you're supposed to do. It's just there will be a prophet, and it'll be this guy.
After Joseph Smith.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And Brigham Young is now in control of the other Mormons.
Yes, he's more, because he's gotten rid of Sidney Rigdon, who was his only rival. So it's just Brigham Young. So he says to his people, all right, go deal with this Strang nonsense, because he's got his people milling around and making trouble. Go deal with them. And they hold this big meeting. And they spend the whole time speaking against Strang. Now, this is another, Brigham Young has many good qualities, which we enumerated, and bad qualities, which we also enumerated in our Utah episode. But here he is kind of dim several times over. Both the excommunication of Strang next to Sidney Rigdon is a mistake because it elevates Strang. Also, devoting an entire meeting to him
makes him seem too important.
Ooh, there might be something to this guy, right? Smith
I also just am like, I'm just kind of confused as to why anybody... Because the only difference is the leader. Well, I guess that would.
It's a substantial change.
Yeah, that is a substantial change. Never mind.
Strang is also anti-polygamy at this moment.
Oh, and Brigham Young was not?
He had many wives.
Yes.
Including Joseph Smith's former wives.
Correct.
Oh.
He was busy adopting them.
Yeah.
Oh, I
don't
like that.
He just brought them all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is what happens. Moses Smith, who is of the Strangites, remember he helped start the first Mormon community in Wisconsin with his brother Aaron. He sets up on a tree stump outside of the meeting where Brigham Young's people have been proselytizing against the Strangites, and he waits for him to come out, and he's like, let us tell you our side of the story. So we've already made a big deal about them, and then bam, there they are.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. The crowd had grown curious about Strang, naturally, because Brigham and his followers had devoted so much energy to denouncing them, and so they started to gather around. And people are also bored. There's no Netflix. So this is pretty awesome, right? This is a cool, theological fight we get to experience today.
It's a fun little turf war.
Moses Smith spoke for 2 hours. Until the Strangites were dispersed by the Brighamites wielding knives and guns.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't mess with Brigham.
No.
He's tough people.
Yeah.
While it may seem as though Strang had no chance of supplanting Brigham Young with his long-standing position of leadership among the Mormons, right? Obviously, Brigham Young.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
He actually had a fair chance. So let me say a few things. Let's not forget, he's extremely persuasive.
Yeah.
Brigham Young, I think, is deeply authentic. And I say that word as a scholar who hates the word authentic, but I think Brigham Young was all in all the time. I mean, he died calling out to Joseph Smith.
Yeah.
So he was fully in, right? And I think that's in large part what kept Brigham at the head of the church and what made him such a persuasive leader. However, Jesse Strang is a good talker. Mm-hmm. And Americans love a good talker.
Oh, they do.
And we love a good grifter.
Yeah.
So, let me tell you a couple of interesting things here. Emma Hale Smith had refused to join with or otherwise promote Brigham Young and publicly broke with him at this time. The prophet's own wife. And for good reasons, right? We don't know which property belongs to Joseph Smith and which property belongs to the church. Brigham and Emma are fighting over property. Brigham has many wives. He's promoting polygamy. Emma hates the fact that her husband had many wives at the end of his life. This is not good for Brigham. Strang courted Emma to join his cause, which would have been a coup, but there's no evidence that she came out to support him. Nevertheless, she also didn't speak out against him. And she didn't speak in favor of Brigham. Strang did succeed in securing the support of Lucy Mack Smith. Also, William Smith, the prophet's mother and his only surviving brother.
Oh,
wow.
Yes.
That's a huge deal.
That's a
They
big
said,
gap.
Strang, he's okay. We're okay with Strang. They're not ready to move to Michigan, but we're okay with Strang. Strang's rivals refused to debate him, fearful that he would use the mainstream Mormons' polygamy against them.
He's going to make me a Strangite if I go debate him.
Don't argue with him. That's how he gets you. The last guy you argued with him took 300 people with him.
Yeah. Oh no.
If I argue with him, he's going to get the whole state of Illinois. So it's also true that Strang's going to catch him on polygamy because Strang is anti-polygamy, and a lot of Mormons have icky feelings about polygamy. Yeah. This is what brought Joseph Smith down, right? The newspaper publishing against him. He tore the newspaper apart. He finds himself in jail. So the polygamy thing continues to strain at things. Strang continued his Eastern tour. Remember, he's got his letter, and he's going town to town saying, I am the inheritor of the Mormons.
I've only been there for 5 months. I'm in the inheritor.
Yep.
That's amazing.
So, but now he's also got his Vori brass plates. So he's got his letter in one hand, his plates in the other, and he's proclaiming the truth to the people. He claimed that a committee of scholars had affirmed that his plates were in the Levanite language, but never identified the members of that committee. It's like 4 guys drunk.
That looks like that to me.
Yeah.
Says the drunk guy.
That's Lebanite.
What do you think, Jedediah? Yeah.
I can't read it, so it looks good to me.
As a plumber, I've seen a lot of Levanite language on the pipes I use. Strang. If only there was a plumber. Strang had also won less auspicious converts from Joseph Smith's court, namely John C. Bennett. Now, for those of you who don't remember, John C. Bennett was the disgraced former mayor of Nauvoo.
Yeah.
Who had been outed as a confidence man and served as a scapegoat for Smith's polygamous experimentation.
What is a confidence man?
Con man.
Oh.
Yeah, that's actually what it is. It stands for that. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Big day for you.
Is it? Okay.
I love the phrase confidence man.
Yeah.
And it underscores what a con man is. They con you with confidence.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Oh. I like that.
Yeah. Now you can think about all the con men in American culture right now and penetrate their system. They're just being confident. Yep. Confident about your BS. So, and he was a scapegoat as well, as I'm saying, for Smith's polygamous experimentation. And John C. Bennett wrote to Strang and offered to come out to Vori. He was like, hey, you got something going there. Unaware of Bennett's checkered history and drawn by his Nauvoo pedigree, this was the mayor, right?
Yes.
Strang said, come on down. When he got there, Bennett established an Order of the Illuminati. Let me say that again.
Okay.
He established an Order of the Illuminati as the secret society to support Jesse Strang. 117 members pledged loyalty to James Strang as sovereign, King James I, a title that he would build on in the coming years. Another prominent disgraced Mormon, George Adams, a church lecturer excommunicated after being accused of embezzling funds and practicing polygamy, also joined Strang. There is, of course, deep irony in excommunicating people for polygamy. Adams should be closer to our hearts here in this room because he was an actor, but with an alcohol problem. So we can identify with the first part. Maybe we can identify the second part in the wide world, but
not with it.
Not with us.
Not internally.
Not with this room.
But he was an actor, so he's sort of our people. Strang and his cohort said about establishing any actors out there with alcohol problems, our hearts go out to you. We're here for you. Send us a message.
We support you.
We support, not your alcoholism.
No, but yeah.
Strang and his cohort said about establishing a new community of Mormons at Vori. Peirce held 650 acres as buddy from childhood at Vori and was largely responsible for selling them to the converts to Strang's church at $30 an acre, which was 5 times the price Peirce had paid to purchase them. So this is a perfect American scheme of the time when there's all this frontier land. Start a cult or whatever, start a church.
It's a cult, you can say that.
It's and get people to move to your area and then sell them land at a jacked up price.
Yeah.
Because without a cult, there's no reason to move there.
Sure.
Aaron Smith, the high priest who had first introduced him to the prophet, and Reuben Miller, remember, he'd been converted when he came up to debate Strang, turned against Strang.
Good. Oh, 2 different reactions.
Savannah loves a good villain.
I do.
Miller published a pamphlet against the new prophet, was excommunicated, and rejoined Brigham Young. Bennett...
Wait, why did he? I'm so sorry. I'm sort of spacing
He just
out a little
became
bit.
disillusioned with Strang.
Oh.
Yeah, there's no real
The
reason.
charm wore off.
Yeah, he wasn't around to debate him anymore, and so...
He was like, wait a minute.
He said,
I
wait,
came here to fight that guy.
my points are still valid.
He bolts up in the middle of the night. Wait!
I've been disillusioned by a man.
I didn't believe any of that yesterday. If only life was that simple. You think it kind of is in many ways. Anyway, so he's back to Brigham
This
Young.
is real life. Aren't we talking about real life?
It's real life.
This
it
did
is.
happen.
Bennett, the mayor, accused of taking advantage of women as he had at Nauvoo and establishing an Illuminati that was not of God, was put on trial and found guilty.
By who?
The people of Voree.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Aaron Smith, who led the charge against Bennett, was excommunicated because Bennett, after all, had formed a secret cult within a cult to make James the king. So we like Bennett. He's our favorite con man. But Aaron Smith is the true believer, and he goes after Bennett, so we excommunicate Aaron Smith. It's almost a Joseph Smith move. Joseph Smith got up to this all the time. He's constantly excommunicating people for calling him out for his BS.
Yeah.
We think you're sleeping around, Joseph Smith. Excommunicated. but I am. The schisms led to defections from Strang's church. William Smith, Joseph's last surviving brother, was also excommunicated for adultery and apostasy. Went on a lecture tour exposing the falsehoods of Mormonism generally. The actor Adams was accused of attempting to seduce women and disorderly drunkenness while on a mission to Boston. Strang defended Adams and quietly removed Bennett from the church. So, too much scandal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to have a secret Illuminati calling you king. It's another thing to have your buddies telling everybody about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to keep that secret a secret.
Yeah. We don't talk about our monarchy here, right? I would be very embarrassed if people found out about the monarchy we were running.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Robert the First. I think I aspire to be more of a pope than a monarch.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I would like a papal throne with,
that's what you deserve.
old documents beneath me somewhere.
Yeah.
I do love popes. All right.
Will we excommunicate people from occult confessions if they start speaking?
Do we,
out
the
against
people in
you?
this room, have the power to excommunicate?
Yeah, I guess you guys would. Yeah, you guys, if you're running my secret Illuminati of Pope Robert.
Yes.
I
Pope
like
Bob.
the idea of being able to excommunicate
I do
people.
too. Yeah, I like that we have this power.
Yep. But if you guys get called out by anybody, I'm going to just quietly remove you,
I'll quietly remove them.
and then you'll be all right.
Yeah. I know what I'm doing.
Perfect Tiago here. Strang decided the next step for the Strangites was to establish an Indian mission on Beaver Island, the largest island in Lake Michigan. He visited himself. This is not unlike the Mormons, really. They did outreach to native people. He visited himself with 3 followers and decided to purchase the whole of the several islands there to distribute among the Mormons. So he's now going to move the community to Lake Michigan, Beaver Island specifically. Strang is often called
put them on an island, on some islands.
Yes, it's basically like one main island, little islands.
I just feel like that's very secluding, especially in this time period, right? Like.
You're already pretty secluded. I mean, Brigham Young established a community in a desert.
Oh, that's
True.
fair.
But at least you don't need like a boat.
Yeah, that's what
To
I'm
get
thinking. I'm
there.
like, man.
I don't think he's trying to cut them off because he's going to keep going back and doing like politics and stuff, but he wants his own domain. He wants his own kingdom, if you will.
Right.
He's given up on the dream of marrying the Queen of England.
Yeah, we're past Victoria. I mean, she's long since married her cousin.
It's a shame.
The United States government said that Strang's Mormons could settle there and purchase the land when the government made it available. It was populated by 40 or 50 Chippewa families who lived by fishing and operated a trading post. By winter 1849, 62 Mormons resided on Beaver Island. Soon after arriving, non-Strang unorthodoxy blossomed. Samuel Shaw and Levi Parmeter began to prophesy among them that they were tried and excommunicated. So he establishes a community, and immediately these guys are like, "No, I see God, and He tells me this." And Strang's like, "Get out."
Yeah, that's not the time to do that.
There's only one of us that can do that. People are digging up plates. Everyone's digging everywhere.
Everyone has plates.
Everyone's got plates. The community settled into Strang's mold after that. So once he gets rid of these couple guys, everything's okay. The population more than doubled over the next year, with settlers supporting themselves, building their own houses, farming the land, and felling cordwood to sell when their pioneering fell short. Although Bennett and Adams had been removed for teaching spiritual wifery, and Strang had taught that polygamy was only possible in a despotic government rather than a free one, he, like Joseph Smith before him, communicated a revelation that it was now permitted.
Except I feel like his is not for the same reasons at all.
Even more so because Joseph Smith, I don't think, ever spoke directly against polygamy.
Right.
Strang was like, polygamy is the worst.
Right.
But now it's okay.
Right.
Never mind. It was the worst. Past tense.
Yeah.
An important part of Strang's change of heart was personal. Strang met, and here you're going to love her. You're going to love her as soon as you hear her name. Elvira Field.
Oh. Oh, okay.
She was 17.
Oh.
The year was 1843. He's like 30-some, yeah.
I guess at the time it could have been worse. So,
Yeah, it's not that
you know,
bad.
I'll take it
Really
if I
not
have
that
to.
bad. It was 1843, and his child had just died, and he claimed his wife would not have sex with him after his child's death, a dubious claim given that they had 2 more children.
Oh.
Maybe she
Okay.
wouldn't have a lot of sex with him. Yeah, that's possible.
But enough that they had 2 more children.
Maybe she was very fertile.
I
I don't know. Elvira Field was a teacher. She was already a teacher by 17. She's a
That's impressive.
smart girl.
Accomplished woman.
Her
Yeah.
parents had been Mormons and went with Strang after Smith's death. So they're early converts to Strangism. George Adams brought Strang's proposal of plural marriage to her, promising that she would be his queen after the kingdom was established. Field accepted, and they honeymooned in Sault Ste. Marie, which Strang claimed was a mission to the Indians. So he's like, we're going to go on a mission to the Indians.
But it's actually just
It's actually a honeymoon with his second wife, because he already still has the first one.
Right.
He brought her on a trip east, cutting her hair and calling her Charles Douglas, his male secretary.
God.
Come on, this is so this is movie worthy though.
Okay.
This is deeply movie
Why
worthy.
was he doing that though? Because was he trying to hide that
He
he, had
didn't
a
wa-
second
yes,
wife?
he didn't wanna
But
get
that's just
caught.
going to make it look like he's having an affair with a man, isn't it?
Even better, in my opinion.
Right.
It's
I
so
agree.
complicated. The gender play here is fantastic. None of Elvira's family knew where she went
No.
because they didn't know she was married.
What is this comedy of errors that's now happening?
And she changed her name to Charles, so nobody knows where Elvira went. She just vanished.
just Charles Douglas now.
They sent out,
Oh,
her
God.
relatives went looking for her.
Oh my goodness.
In New York, Strang affirmed, counter Brigham Young, that black Mormons could assume the priesthood by naming a black member an elder. So we are picking on him, but then he does a nice thing.
Yeah.
But I think we're right in our picking on him, however.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
it's so delightfully. I don't even know. I guess it is awful, but it's so colorful that it's
Yeah.
hard
It's
to
a
hate.
little
It's very
goofy.
flamboyant.
Yeah. At a speaking engagement with Charles Douglas. It's cuter when you're having sex with your male secretary if you call him Charlie.
I suppose.
As a straight man.
Yeah, I guess you
Makes you
can't
feel
have sex
better.
with him and be like, Charles.
No. Have sex with Charles, but Charlie.
Charlie, you
Charlie's
can.
hot.
Yeah.
Strang was accused of spiritual wifery at the end of the meeting. The meeting devolved into a shouting match with participants pointing and screaming. The person who accused Strang was a man named Lorenzo Dow Hickey. He had been a preacher for Strang's church, but was committed to an asylum.
What?
Can you say that again?
Yeah.
Hold on.
So, and let me set the scene here.
Okay.
What is spiritual wifery? Isn't that
That's
just...
having multiple
Yeah.
wives.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
So James Strang is up on the rostrum and he's giving a speech, and he's a great speaker, so people are rapt, and in the front row, standing right up against the stage, is this really hot male secretary
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Charlie.
with small but luscious breasts. Yes. And in the back of the room, a man jumps up and says, "You, sir, are committing spiritual wifery."
With your man
right there. With that hot male secretary.
Extremely femininely attractive man. Yes, and then is immediately hauled off to an asylum. No, that's not true.
Oh.
But Lorenzo...
I was like, he had that kind of power to do that?
I wonder, if I had more time, I would have researched more into Lorenzo Hickey, because I think he was a zealot for Strangism, but deeply disillusioned by the whole thing at the same time.
Oh.
And I think his zealotry, he was just an extreme personality. So he ends up in an asylum sometimes.
Yeah,
It's like he needs to check in occasionally.
Yeah.
So, after he gets out of the asylum, Adams encouraged Strang to reinstate him, and he began preaching for Strang again.
Oh.
The very man who stood up at the meeting and pointed to him. Hickey would end up taking 3 polygamous wives himself.
I literally was about to say, did he offer him a hot male secretary?
What?
He offered him 3.
But wait, there's more. He would name his first child of these marriages after Strang's first plural wife. Say it with me now. Elvira. Yes.
What?
Not only did he marry 3 wives after Prophet Strang, after accusing him of polygamy and publicly embarrassing him, but he then named his first child from his plural marriages after Strang's plural wife.
Wow.
Crazy.
Strang's more extensive revelation, the Book of the Law of the Lord, was the product of various revelations and the translation of the plates of Laban, or Laban.
I like that more. Laban.
Laban is a theater technique, a movement technique. So that's how when I see it, I think Laban, but it maybe could have been Laban.
It's Laban.
The law included material from the Ark of the Covenant that had been lost to history, but naturally available to Strang.
Right.
The Laban plates date from the Hebrews' Babylonian captivity. There were 18 total. They were slightly smaller than a standard sheet of paper, but the book wasn't transcribed entirely from the plates. Some of what Strang wrote came to him through divine inspiration. This is not unlike Joseph Smith. Strang also received a direct revelation that God had chosen his servant James to be king. He really wants to be king.
He really does want to be a king.
The Book of the Law ran to...
You can't...
What?
I'm just in... It's America.
No, you can't be king.
No, you can't be king.
No.
You can't even have your own little place where you call yourself king.
Nope.
I mean,
No.
Bad news.
You can't.
Yeah.
Shouldn't do it.
But he keeps trying.
Keeps trying. The Book of the Law ran to over 300 pages. It is the Book of the Law, too. Book of the Law of the Lord. Mostly comprised of commentary on Strang's own version of the 10 Commandments, which were pretty close to Yahweh's original set.
How many pages did you say?
300.
To cover 10 Commandments.
It's a 19th century text, but yes, yeah. Big print. Here's some selections of the Book of the Law of the Lord, since we don't have time for the whole thing, which we did have time for the whole
Book of
previous
the Law of the
Revelation.
Lord.
Yeah.
That's like our new tongue twister.
Feels good,
Book
yeah.
of the Law of the Lord.
We're not doing that. Then they'll know. Then they'll know there's a secret
that'll give it
Illuminati.
away,
Right.
yeah. Is Rob a pope?
No.
No, where'd you get that idea? The Book of the Law of the Lord.
We quietly remove those people from the stage.
The Book of the Law of the Rob.
Oh, no.
That's even more obvious.
I want you to note as I read some of these laws a bit of occult flavor and Mormon idiosyncrasy in Strang's visions. First quote from the law. Thou shalt not curse out of the bitterness of thine own heart, nor shalt thou curse any but he that is under condemnation of God's law, and being oft rebuked will not repent. Curse not, lest thy curse return upon thee.
Really doesn't like cursing.
No, but it sounds like witchcraft.
Yeah.
I thought he was talking about like cursing, like.
That's what I thought. Then I was like, wait,
no,
are
he's
we
talking about spells?
Are we casting? We're throwing spells around.
I'm going to add a big bleep so it sounds like you just cursed for a minute there.
Yeah, please do. Every other word.
I thought you meant like be. I do it be. Thou shalt mother be. Yeah. Thou shalt offer upon the altar. Second law. Thou shalt offer upon the altar of the Lord thy God and before his priests sacrifices for sin offerings and for trespass offerings and for memorials and for peace offerings and for thanks offerings. These offerings,
kind, though?
Well, they shall be the firstlings of thy flocks and of the choice of thy fields and of the chief of all holy things. Very Cain and Abel.
Okay.
Yeah, really like old school.
That is very
Judaic sacrifice.
Like sacrificing your children?
No.
No, like
your actual
your literal
sheep.
flock. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Animal.
okay.
He's bringing back animal sacrifice. At every temple, next law, which thou shalt build unto the Lord thy God by his commandment, shalt thou make a fountain for the baptism of the living of the dead. Baptism of the living for the dead. Sorry. This is the baptism of the dead, the Mormon principle of baptizing the dead.
Oh.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
If an evil spirit enter into any of thine, and torment him, or lead him about, thou shalt send for the elders or high priests, and they shall put their hands upon him, and look upon him, and rebuke the evil spirit, and cast him out.
Exorcism's cool.
Yeah, isn't that neat? God hath chosen thy servant James to be king. He hath made him his apostle to all nations. He hath established him a prophet above the kings of the earth, and appointed him king in Zion. By his own voice did he call him, and he sent his angels unto him to ordain him. Yeah, I don't want that. When I'm pope, I want to be like an old school medieval pope where I have to like rival secular authorities for power and like put my Templars in their backyard and stuff. That's how I want to be pope.
Yeah, we'll set that up.
That's the fun. There's
Yeah.
no fun if you can't conspire and stuff.
That's really all of the fun of being a pope.
No, you don't want to be on top of everybody. That's
Yeah.
boring.
You gotta fight.
Yeah. The power of the Lord, next law, God, he giveth to him to rule the nations and to execute judgments among the children of men. He shall declare the laws and commandments, exercise his dominion, and cast a shield round about the children of his people, that his dominion be not taken from him forever.
I like how the golden plates that Strang found didn't say any names specifically, but now this book is like very specifically
just
like
James.
He's king.
And his name is James. All right, one last one you're really going to like. This is the abstinence of the king.
Okay.
He shall not multiply to himself horses. He shall not multiply to himself carriages. He shall not multiply to himself ships. He shall not multiply to himself armor. He shall not multiply to himself wives, lest he forget the law and avenge not his people, and lest his heart turn from them to strange women. He's I think there's some inner demons here he's wrestling with.
Yeah, he's really fighting something.
On the 4th of July, 1850.
Why would he make that
a rule, even though he's... I have no idea. It's bizarre. It's bizarre.
He's just, I feel like in a way, in the future, just cutting back his own power.
He's fighting himself.
Yeah.
On the 4th of July, 1850, the Gentiles on Beaver Island plotted to remove the Mormons. So same situation for the Strangites as the Mormons. They're always in conflict with non-Mormons. Strang brought a cannon, which he fired to start the day.
Like every day?
Nope, just this July 4th. And that adequately scared the piss out of the non-Mormons. And pretty much threw off their plan for the day. They're like, whoa!
They got explosions over there.
Maybe not. We were just going to, like, shoot peas at them.
They have a cannon.
Yeah. We've got, like, 3 knives. They realized the Stranites had a cannon, as Bree is saying. He was crowned king shortly afterward with a paper crown and a 20-inch stick.
A 20-inch stick?
Yeah,
specifically.
That's 20 inches, yeah.
I want to know who found that stick.
I
want to know.
For the king.
I want to know their trials and tribulations searching for the perfect 20-inch stick.
Yeah, were they going around with a ruler? Like, what was happening?
Who made the crown?
I don't know. That's a good
Was
question.
it
bet he
colored
did.
with crayons?
It's probably Adams, the actor. He did a lot of the staging of these events.
Oh.
He went about proclaiming...
Stagecraft.
Right. I mean, he's the actor, right? He's the theater guy.
Delightful.
Strang went about proclaiming the laws of the kingdom the next day, which included a prohibition against polygamy. Not long after, Adams staged Strang's coronation with all his theatrical intuition. It was his turn to be expelled.
How long ago did he say that polygamy was cool?
He's never said it's cool.
I thought Strang said it was cool.
He's anti-polygamy, and then, yes, eventually he does come out in favor of it. But he's really back and forth on this issue.
Oh, okay.
So now Adams, who's staging all these things with all his theatrical intuition, as I said, is thrown out because of his new wife. Adams' first wife was ill with consumption. He claimed that she had died, and then he went on to marry a rich widow. But here's the thing. His wife wasn't dead, and the widow, Louisa, was in fact a prostitute.
Oh.
Not a rich widow. A rich prostitute? I don't know. Maybe just a regular prostitute. So he leaves his consumptive wife for a prostitute. Instead of excommunicating the actor, Adams Strang excommunicated the prostitute.
Oh. Yeah, like this is all her fault. Okay.
And Adams left with her. Adams attempted to prosecute Strang for threatening his wife. The judge disliked Strang and sent him to jail 4 times, but the judge was a rural official and understood the law poorly in relation to the actual lawyer Strang, who got himself out of jail every time and was ultimately sent home a free man.
Dang, okay.
Yeah, these, backwater judges are like, you're in contempt, sir, and then...
Yeah.
He's Strang, so he talks for 5 minutes, and then he's not only out of jail, but they've also gifted him the jail to start a new church in.
Right.
And given him a pear tree. On the 30th of April, 1851, Millard Fillmore authorized government action against the Beaver Island Mormons. That's right, the president.
Oh.
Along with 30 other Mormons, Strang was
against the Beaver Islands.
Yes.
That sounds really silly.
We got to differentiate them from
the war with the Beaver Island.
Or they're invading Beaver Island.
No.
Along with 30... now I'm with you. Oops.
Yeah.
Along with 30 other Mormons, Strang was accused of trespassing on federal land, cutting federal timber, counterfeiting money, and obstructing the mail. Adams continuing to... I know, just... He stood in the way. Get out of the way. I'm walking here.
You said, no, I'm the postman.
I'm the postmaster king. Adams, continuing to harbor a deep grudge, testified against Strang and accused the Beaver Island Mormons of counterfeiting francs, which were legal tender in the United States at the time. That's French currency. Strang and the Mormons had backed the Democrats who ran Michigan, and so the Democrats were unwilling to chastise Strang for his excesses. Again, the political power of Mormons, even these Mormons, who are not part of the main branch. Only Fillmore and the Whigs at the federal level could step in to regulate the Michigan Mormons because the state of Michigan was like, no, you guys can do whatever you want. Before the trial could be held, a non-Mormon named Thomas Bennett was killed on the island. The Mormons were accused, but he was actually killed by a posse during the execution of a warrant. The mail charge was the one the government ended up focusing on, ironically enough. Brie.
That's funny.
Mail was delivered by dog sled, and on one occasion the sled was intercepted and told that Strang had sent a crew to intercept and steal the mail. The dog sled had been traveling with a man named Moore, who Strang, in his capacity as a local official of Beaver Island, had issued an arrest warrant for. So he tried to arrest the postmaster for, some unrelated thing. Strang's crew wanted Moore, but they didn't really care about intercepting the mail. That was just an accident. After a short deliberation, the jury found Strang not guilty, of course. With Strang's court victories, Gentile persecution slowed considerably and Gentile presence on Beaver Island dissipated. You can't beat him. You just can't beat him. Unlike Joseph Smith, who loses over and over again in the law and politics, Strang is good. Strang's new ranking advisor was named Samuel Graham, but he had lost faith in Beaver Island and encouraged Strang to relocate. So he's with Strang, but Beaver Island, he says, this is a loser, man. Strang wouldn't have it, and they became estranged. Strang asked Mary to leave, concerned that his first wife, concerned that she was undermining him, and she relocated back to Voorhee, his original home, his original commune. It's not a commune, it's a community. Strang married his second plural wife, Betsy McNutt.
You can't go from Elvira Fields to Betsy McNutt.
Betsy McNutt, yeah.
Is that her real name?
It's her real name.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
People called her Charlie. No. She was a 31-year-old spinster. In 1852, Strang had about 100 acres of waterfront property and sought to add 100 more. On the anniversary of his coronation on the 8th of July, 1852, animal sacrifices were performed according to the Old Testament tradition. The day became a significant occasion for celebration among the Strangites. Next, Strang was elected a member of Michigan's state legislature. That's right. This guy, with his 3 wives, and who has been coronated king of Beaver Island.
If you gotta be a king anywhere, it should be Beaver Island.
He's now in the state legislature. It's just so bizarre because it's not even like he's in Congress. He's not the governor. He's a state legislator.
That is wild.
So weird.
There, he advocated for Beaver Island and served as a talented debater. He was so successful as a politician that he endeavored to replace Brigham Young as governor of Utah, although
Oh my God.
Yes, he actually, connived. He's still conniving against Brigham Young. The United States president never consented. So it's really fascinating because the United States didn't care for Brigham Young, the federal government, and they did replace him. And Strang was like, send me, brother.
But didn't the government just want to go to war with Beaver Island? So
Yeah,
they didn't like him either?
And yet.
But
he was a politician, so they knew his kind. He was one of them, unlike Brigham Young. While Strang was riding high, the conditions for his downfall were slowly coming into place. In 1855, Strang ordered all Mormon women to wear bloomers.
Okay.
Which caused a major uprising.
Really?
Let me tell you about bloomers.
Yeah, please do.
The bloomer costume, I love everything about this conversation we're having right now. Let me just say I'm delighting in it.
Yeah.
Because I'm about to say pantalettes.
Oh.
The bloomer costume consisted of pantalettes, which were covered by a knee-length skirt. So it's not as sexy as you were imagining.
I mean, I wasn't imagining anything sexy, to be fair, but it's pants with skirt.
Pantalettes, so they have like they blossom a little. they have like the elastic kind of.
But they're still a legged thing with a skirt on top.
So it's a skirt down to your knees, and then I can see your pantalettes, which have the little tie. So it's a bit sexier, isn't it, than your standard Victorian dress?
Well, it doesn't go to their ankles.
It goes to the knee. Thomas Bedford was whipped when his wife wouldn't wear the costume.
Oh my God.
And an escalating series of events led to Bedford being flogged 39 times. This is about pantalettes. He was flogged about pantalettes.
Wow. That's crazy.
Why do we need the bloomers?
Yeah.
I think that Strang was making a point about their practicality. A dress is not very practical for a frontier woman. The bloomers are a better outfit. Even with the knee-length skirt, you're going to have more mobility.
But
and your dress won't get dirty.
Just give him pants.
I think that's too sexy. We see too much the shape of your legs. Because a bloomer...
Well, then give him the baggy pantalettes without the skirt.
Right, but still too sexy. The skirt's keeping us from... We can imagine your private parts. You know, this is Victorian age. We're really perverted.
I feel like it's even more impractical because then you have even more fabric making things difficult for you.
So you're going to get flogged, Brie, is what's
I
going to happen.
I would get flogged.
Yeah.
I would take that flogging any day over wearing the bloomers and pantalettes.
And I imagine, much like Bedford, you would go around armed ever afterwards, hoping for the chance to murder Strang.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Because Strang is who he blamed directly for the flogging, although Strang may not have actually ordered it directly. But Strang created the conditions.
Yeah.
I'd be armed.
He's the bloomer man. He was joined in his plot to murder Strang, who he believed had given the... Oh, sorry. He was joined in his plot to murder Strang by H.D. McCullough, Franklin Johnson, and Alexander Wentworth. Each had their own reason for hating Strang. Now, here's your Quentin Tarantino movie. Each had their own reason for hating Strang as the leader of the community. Wentworth had married a daughter of Franklin Johnson, Phoebe, who Strang had hoped to marry.
Oh, no.
Number one. McCullough, number two, had recently lost a local election and fallen in status. He had a drinking problem and was accused of shortchanging his customers with weights. He just blamed Strang for his fall from respectability. McCullough held a bullet up in Chicago and said it was destined for Strang. He traveled with Dr. J. Atkin, yet another character in our Tarantino film, who was also an alcoholic, and plotted with the assassins, but didn't play much of an active role in the actual assassination. McCullough and Atkin tried and failed to get the governor to remove Strang from office, and McCullough brought pistols back with him to Beaver Island. So now there are multiple guns floating around Beaver Island with Strang's name on them. Bedford, of the Pantalette fiasco, attempted to kill Strang with a shotgun as he was disembarking from the USS Michigan at Beaver Island on the 2nd of June. But Strang was walking between two friends, and Bedford couldn't get a shot, so he never fired. The USS Michigan returned on the 16th of June. A civilian pilot of the Michigan, Alexander St. Bernard, came ashore to find Strang. The captain, he told Strang, wanted to see him. They walked arm in arm, so he's walking with one of the ship's officers back to the ship, and they passed a crowd of about 40 people. Bedford and Wentworth were among the crowd and stepped out from among them. A boy shouted, "Brother Strang, they are going to shoot you." Bedford's bullet hit Strang in the back of the head, and Wentworth hit him in the back, shooting him. Wentworth ran, but Bedford called for him to come back, since Bedford only had a single-shot pistol. Wentworth returned, stood over Strang, and shot him in the face, and then bolted for the Michigan again. The idea is to get on the boat so that you could be out of the Strangites' domain, and they can't get you. Bedford clubbed Strang 7 times and then joined Wentworth, running for the escape vessel.
So they shot this dude twice with a shotgun, once with a normal pistol, and then beat him also?
Something like that.
Damn.
Yes. 3 shots and then a beating. Strang was carried to a nearby apostle's house where he was attended by Dr. James McClelland.
He's still alive?
Mm-hmm.
Human body, man.
Jesus Christ.
Well, the guns weren't terrific in the early 19th century.
So he probably suffered quite a bit.
It didn't feel good.
Yeah.
McBlair, the captain of the Michigan, had the 2 men detained. The next day at 1 o'clock, the ship sailed off with 30 islanders aboard composed of anyone who had any connection to the assassination. So everyone's trying to escape who had any tie to this. The assassins were delivered to the sheriff Julius Granger at Mackinac and were greeted with spontaneous applause.
Hey.
The crowd told the sheriff if he locked them up, they would tear the jail down. And so he put him in jail but left the doors open and let the assassins stay at his boarding house instead. They were brought before a justice of the peace. They were fined $1.25 for court costs. And then they never had another trial.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
This is frontier justice.
Yeah.
9 days later, Strang was still alive.
That's not great.
Whoa.
And on the 28th of June, sailed south for Voree as mobs roamed Beaver Island looking to arrest the Mormons on various charges.
Yeah.
One posse included Wentworth, Bedford, and McCullough. Strang was taken to his parents, where his mother said she'd seen him in this wounded condition years earlier in a dream. After Strang's exit, 200 families left Beaver Island, some for Voree. Then on the 5th of July, an anti-Mormon mob arrived and forcibly evicted the more than 2,000 Strangites remaining on Beaver Island. Strang's Island newspaper ceased to print. His home was shot up and the printing office taken over by a mob who used the press to print a decree about the end of his rule. Strang told his followers that his active part in bearing the kingdom had ended and it was up to others to take up the cause, but for some reason he named no successor. I mean, I'm sure there's a reason we think about the people around him. The wounds on Strang's head healed, and the one on his back continued to trouble him, and it was the one on his back by which his health quickly declined.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the head wounds didn't kill him. Strang was attended on his deathbed by Edward Chidester, who sent for his family and neighbors as Strang was dying around 9:45 in the morning. This was July 9th, the day after the 6th anniversary of his coronation. Chidester asked if he had anything to say, and Strang said yes. And then he died.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that something?
Is rough.
Chidester paid for this man of many words, right?
Right.
Chidester paid for the coffin, and Lorenzo Hickey gave the impassioned eulogy.
I bet he did.
He was buried in Burlington, Wisconsin. Of Strang's assassins, Wentworth died of dysentery as a corporal in the 5th Minnesota Infantry Regiment. Bedford remained on Beaver Island until he was accused of murdering another man, and then he joined the army for the last year of the Civil War to get away from those accusations. He separated from his wife and never returned to the island, but lived to the age of 76.
Wow.
Strang's church continued, but never recovered from his death. Today, 2 sects persist, with memberships of 300 and several thousand. That's how many Strangites there still are. Isn't that something? Maybe somebody will write in about my pronunciation.
I doubt it. No, maybe.
Hickey continued to preach, but never claimed the office of prophet. He would have been, I think, the natural next guy. And many of the Strangites left for the Reformed Church of Latter-day Saints, an anti-polygamous sect of Mormonism founded by Joseph Smith's son, Joseph Smith III. Even Strang's own wives all ultimately quit the church that he founded. Final thoughts on James Jesse Strang?
It's a weird story.
I think that, Sorry. I am just blanking because you've said so many names to me right now.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah. Who are you looking for?
Joseph Smith. Oh my God.
The Mormon.
I was like, which Smith? It's the one. Unlike him, where, he kind of didn't ever be like, bad polygamy. We don't do that here. He never took a hard stance because he truly, in my opinion, believed that was told to him by God, hey, you gotta do this because of the whole, after death thing. But I think that this guy clearly never actually believed that, and I think his downfall is the exact opposite, where he took such a hard stance at constantly trying to correct what, he deemed as Joseph Smith's failure and, quietly hiding it instead of saying, no, no, no. He did it too hard and then just made it very obvious that he was doing it. I mean, at least Joseph Smith didn't disguise his wives as his hot male secretary very obviously. I don't know. It's such a weird guy. Such a different weird guy. Like the opposite spectrum of weird, but weird nonetheless.
It's less... Yeah, Joseph Smith feels very much like he's living in this epic myth.
Right.
Jesse Strang is living in a comedy.
He's living in a stage production.
Yeah.
Jesse Strang is in a stage production. Joseph Smith is in this weird ethereal mind state.
Right. Yeah. The Wes Anderson, the Tarantino. There's a lot of guys cracking jokes around all these strange, very strange events, but really colorful, I think, and fascinating. I can't get over Charlie Elvira.
I can't.
No,
I can't.
But his last name is almost the word strange, too. Yeah. Every time you said it just made me think of, his last name is Strange.
Yeah. All right, then. Let's talk about sources real quick. Of course, the Book of the Law of the Lord. The Vori plates translated, originally from the Vori Herald, January 1846, and Roger Van Noord's The King of Beaver Island, The Life and Assassination of James Jesse Strang from the University of Illinois Press, 1988. My name is Dr. Rob C. Thompson, and I hereby adjourn and declare closed this meeting of the Secret Order of Alchemical Actors until such a time as we get together and do it again. Joined by Brie Littoral, our metallurgic prophet.
Bye, guys. Don't join a cult.
Always good advice. Always bringing that good advice.
My best advice, honestly.
Savannah Verrett, sister of the 84th.
Goodbye. I don't have any better advice than that. So
good advice. Good advice. Don't move to Michigan at the advice a Michigan island at the advice of a strange man with a really femininely attractive secretary.
Yeah.
So we're done with the Mormons. This is it. Closing up shop here. I'm a little bit interested. Maybe we'll do some kind of content around the Mormon wives. I'm not sure. I'd have to watch a bit of that and sort of reflect on how this story reflects on that. Maybe we'll do that for Patreon, but we're going to get out of this stuff. We're going to do some interviews next. We got some cool interviews that Luke and I have been doing. Luke does a lot of good work on producing our interview series. So we're going to drop a couple interview episodes. Bree's going to come back with a bit more Mormonism.
Yeah,
a modern group.
The LDS route, yeah.
A fundamentalist group.
Yeah.
And I think we'll share a bit of that here on the main channel, but you got to be a patron to get all of Bree's good content there. And then what we're going to move on to is occult disappearances. Occultists who vanished, and we don't know what happened to them.
Cool. I'm delighted by that.
Yeah. So something to look forward to here on Occult Confessions.